Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight to learn about our Expanded Learning Opportunities Grant Plan. My name is Anthony Martin, and I am the Director of School Resources and Support for Burton School District. And I will be sharing with you tonight how our district intends to spend the funds this year in order to support our students with these one-time fundings, and also to make sure that our students get the support they need when it comes to any type of learning loss. And so again, thank you for joining us tonight. We will be discussing how we spend the funds that we are receiving this one-time grant for. And so I will be turning off the video in just a second, so that way the whole screen can be the presentation. If you have any questions, please feel free to enter them in the Q&A. Additionally, this meeting is being recorded and will be uploaded to our website at a later date so that you can review it again should you so desire. Thank you for joining us, and we'll begin our presentation. So again, thank you for joining us for our Expanded Learning Opportunities Grant Plan this evening. So the Expanded Learning Opportunities Grants is one-time funding that school districts will receive in order to expand the learning opportunities for students. So it's really looking at how do we increase the opportunities for students to have learning. And it's directly in response to COVID and the fact that many districts across the state have been in distance learning all year or a large portion of the year. And so the funds must be spent on one of the following areas: extending the instructional learning time, accelerating progress to close learning gaps. And so let me go back really quick to the extending the instructional learning time. That means that there are opportunities for students to learn outside of the normal school day or the normal school year. Accelerating progress to close learning gaps. So that would be adding additional staff to work with students during the day. Integrated student supports. So making sure that there are supports in place for those students who are in our programs that need a variety of supports. So making sure that all of those are there. Creating community learning hubs where there are high-speed internet access points. Credit recovery programs for those high school seniors who may have fallen behind due to COVID. Any type of additional academic services that help close learning gaps or improve student outcomes. And then also we could utilize the funds for training for school staff on social, emotional, and academic needs. Again, the funds can be spent on any one of the following areas, all of the following areas, or any combination thereof. There are no requirements to spend in every area. And for us as a district, we'll talk about our plan in here in a minute, but most of those areas are being addressed either through our LCAP, this funding, or through some of the additional one-time funds that we are receiving. So Burton will receive a total of $3.5 million in Expanded in Learning Opportunities Grant, or the ELO grant. That comes in two pots of money, if you will, one representing the non-charter sites and then another representing the charter sites. Of that 3.5 million, approximately 1.9 million is generated by our non-charter sites, with another approximately 1.5 or so generated by our charter sites. And so you'll see in the plan here in a minute when I share with you, you'll see the dollar amount is 1.98 million. That is representing the district's portion, as we have to create two plans, even though they will be substantially the same, because we have the charter and the non-charter sites. So what will Burton be utilizing this specific type of money for? So our plan, and if you've been able to attend any of our previous meetings, whether that was LCAP, a DAC, or a DLAC meeting, or a board meeting, you've heard us talk about how we intend to spend these funds, and that is providing a number of different extended learning opportunities for students. And so the examples that I will give you for our plan is our plan for summer school this year. We will be serving approximately 20 to 25% of our students We will be serving a large number of students in a variety of areas, including our English learners, our migrant students, as well as students who have demonstrated some sort of learning loss or need additional academic support. Many of them have been invited or are currently being invited to our summer school program during the month of June. There's also talks about the opportunity possibly for an early start in July or August later this year, to again give those students the opportunity to get additional in-person seat time to allow them to be able to make up some of that time in person that has been lost this year due to COVID. Looking forward into next school year, we are looking at the possibility of providing some targeted after-school intervention, again, extending that school day by adding additional minutes for those kids. And so what that will look like is it will be very targeted for students based upon specific needs. So we'll have intervention programs running that are targeted to help students regain any loss in the area of reading or English language arts. Or if the students are struggling in math, there is the potential to have that as well. Again, it's targeted for the student with the goal of, again, providing them additional time with a staff member to work on skills that they may have not been able to work on as much this year due to the distance learning environment. And again, next summer, should there be funding still available from these funds, as there is that certain amount that we get, a possible summer school again next summer, again providing an extended year for those students with the opportunity for them to learn and for them to recoup some of that lost seat time in regards to this year due to COVID. And so those are our plan. That is the what we will be using the funds for. And we will start with this year's summer school, and we will work our way through, with the goal being that we have enough funding to get through all of these projects. But if not, then we look at other ways to supplement the funding to ensure that students have that support. And so here's what the actual template looks like. This is what will be submitted to and board approved next week. And so our plan template, this is pulled straight from the document that will be submitted to our board. And it talks about a description of how parents, teachers, and school staff were involved in the development of the plan. And so for us, how we've done that, how we've taken information from parents is we've had multiple surveys go out recently, including the Pulse survey, as well as our district LCAP survey, which had over or just under 1,000 participants. And then in addition to that, we've talked about our summer school plan at various board meetings. We've shared at our district advisory committee and our district English language advisory committee, English learner advisory committee, our DLAC and DAC. Last week during our LCAP survey results meeting, we talked about how the data from that LCAP survey was informing what we would be doing with those ELO funds. And so, and then again tonight we're holding this meeting. And so what I'd like to say is that we've taken all this data that we've gathered throughout the year, not just in one shot, and we really looked at what our parents have been asking for. And a lot of that is additional time, additional support, additional intervention for our students. And the next section talks about how we're going to identify students. We're going to utilize a variety of metrics and really look at which students are below grade level and which ones have fallen further behind. And then again, targeting those students this summer to make sure that we help them get caught up to speed by giving them, again, that additional instructional time. How are those parents and guardians notified of these additional opportunities? For those students who are targeted for the summer school intervention and the summer school camps that we're putting on, they are receiving personal phone calls from our sites, and their students are being invited and given the opportunity to participate. Once we've gone through those lists, there will become a point where we may have additional spots still available. At that point, our school sites will communicate to our parents and families via the normal methods of communication. So our email, our text, our app notifications, Seesaw, again, those variety of notifications will be sent out should that opportunity arise. A description of the LEA's plan to provide supplementals instruction and support. Again, we're going to be utilizing all our funds to provide additional teaching to our students outside of the normal school year and the normal school day. And so it's all supplemental in nature, and it's all designed to support what they're learning in class and make up any gaps that may have appeared over the last year. Our plan for that is to utilize certificated, our teaching staff, as well as our classified staff, so our instructional aides and support staff during the summer to work with those students. Again, as I mentioned before, that's our plan. This summer, we have a very robust summer school program planned. And then again, potentially looking at expanding that into the fall with after school intervention targeted. And then again, if their funding should still be available, if we've not spent it all over the course of the next year, next summer, utilizing that funding again to employ our teachers and instructional aides and our variety of staff to support our students to have additional time outside of the classroom to learn. So the next part of the plan that we have to submit is an expenditure plan. These are the areas that the plan requires us to submit. You'll see that extending instructional learning time is where our dollars are indicated. And for us specifically, that is summer school. That is summer school, that after school intervention, both with the classified and certificated staffing. And then again, those materials and supplies to support that. We know if we're going to run a several week summer school program that we need to have a variety of supplies on hand to ensure that students are able to have the materials they need to do the learning. And so you'll see we've added in parentheses here, this piece that is specific to us. And then over here, you'll see the dollar amount that we have. Again, I mentioned that this is the 1.98 million, that this represents the district plan, as we have to write separate plans. However, the content will be the same. The only difference will be in regards to the dollar amount, where this says 1.98, the charter set will say 1.57. And then at the bottom, we also have to talk about how we're utilizing these funds in conjunction with the other stimulus funding that the school districts are receiving. So as part of the various stimulus packages signed over the last year and a half, school districts and state departments of education have received funding and have passed that funding along to districts. And so it really asks, how are we making sure all of these funds are working together? And so for us, our funds from the expanded learning opportunity grant, this particular one, are all targeted for that extending that instructional learning time, summer school, after school intervention, with the classified staffing and the certificated staffing, and then the materials and supplies. You'll see there's none of these other areas that are funded out of this particular grant. However, with that being said, we are using those one-time funds to provide many of these other services. So looking at ways of accelerating the learning gap for students, we've added some intervention support with those other one-time funds, integrated supports to address other barriers to learning. An example of what we did this year, we ended up purchasing or utilizing over 1,300 hotspots this year, had available for our students. Again, that was a barrier that we were able to overcome because of that. Supports for credit deficient students, so their summer school will have the opportunity for them to do that. Additional academic services, again, some of those intervention teachers, and then training for school staff on strategies to engage students and families with social emotional health and academic needs. We're using our ESSER funds to put all of these things in place. Examples of that are intervention teachers, additional staff to support our intervention and academic growth, expanded academic opportunities for our students, some of the other programs that we're looking to expand across the district. And an area that we are very proud of in our district is our MTSS, or our multi-tiered system of supports, and the mental health services and the socio-emotional learning that we've been able to provide. We are excited next year to have a robust staffing of mental health professionals that will allow for us to meet those socio-emotional needs and any type of mental health concerns as we move back into school full time. Again, that is all because of that one-time funding. We've been able to add those supports. And now with this one-time funding, we're able to add additional time for students to receive additional academic support. And so that's how those funds all go together and how they all work together. Our poll will not launch. So what I would ask is for those of you in the audience, if you would just take a quick moment to, if you have any feedback on our plan of extending our instructional year, we would love to have feedback through you and what you think of that plan. If there are areas that you think that we should be offering other services, we'd love to hear that as well. Again, I can't guarantee that they would come out of this funding, but hearing your voice and giving us the opportunity to hear your feedback allows for us to make those changes, much like we've used LCAP data, hearing from you that you want intervention, you want additional time for students. That is how we drafted our plan. So anytime you can provide us feedback, that allows for us to greatly improve the services we offer to you, our families, and to you, to your students. With all that being said, I want to say thank you for joining us tonight. It's always a great opportunity for us to share when we're making plans and putting program into place to support students. And we believe that with the plan that is being put into place, that we will be able to provide additional instructional time for a large percentage of our students, and that being through both summer and after school programs. Again, I also want to emphasize that just because you didn't see it in this particular plan does not mean we're not supporting a certain area. Again, between our LCAP dollars, our ESSER funding, that one-time federal funding, and the ELO grant, we are working to provide a robust whole child approach to ensure that our students have the environment that they need to be successful. Again, thank you for your time. And if you want to hear about how we're spending some of those LCAP dollars and how those supports are in place for our students, and that's an ongoing document, and that's an ongoing conversation that will continue for many years into the future, we'd love to have you join us next week. And so you can have the first look at our new LCAP goals and actions that are aligned to our strategic plan. So with all that being said, thank you for joining us tonight. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the Q&A, and I will leave the webinar open for just a few minutes so that you are able to put them in there if you have them. Thank you again, and have a wonderful evening.